The arrogance of speed. June 22nd, 1941, 3:15 hours. The Bug River frontier, eastern Poland. Engines growl in the dark like chained animals finally released. Steel tracks bite into dew soaked grass. Somewhere ahead, flares rip open the night sky, turning low clouds white for a heartbeat. Artillery follows, thunder without warning. No speeches, no explanations, just motion. You are there with them, crouched beside a Panzer III as it lurches forward, exhaust choking the air. German tank crews shout over noise, headphones pressed tight, maps folded and refolded in nervous hands. The order has already come down the line. Unternehmen Barbarossa. The largest invasion in human history has begun. General Heinz Uderian's Panzer Group II surges east, a spearhead of speed and confidence. This is blitzkrieg perfected. Columns of armor racing past stunned Soviet border units, still scrambling for boots and rifles. Red Army trucks burn where they were parked. Signal wires lie severed. Prisoners stumble west, hands raised, faces hollow with shock. The advance is relentless. Villages flash by in blurs of thatched roofs and terrified faces. Luftwaffe Stukas dive overhead, sirens screaming like banshees, slamming bombs into crossroads and rail yards. The road to Moscow feels open, inevitable. German officers speak of weeks, not months. Some joke about parading in Red Square before the leaves fall. By noon, the sun is high and the dust is everywhere, coating uniforms, clogging lungs, grinding into gun mechanisms. But still the columns roll. Fuel trucks keep pace. Ammunition flows forward. This is a war of movement, and Germany has mastered it. Then the distances begin to stretch. Maps lie. Roads thin into rutted tracks. Soviet territory swallows kilometers whole. The farther east they go, the more the land resists. Bridges blown, rail gauges wrong. Villages empty to supplies. Engines overheat in the summer heat. Tires shred on bad roads. A tank left behind is not recovered. It is simply passed. Somewhere near Smolensk, resistance stiffens. Soviet units that were supposed to collapse instead counterattack. Poorly coordinated but stubborn. Red Army soldiers fight, retreat, then fight again. Each delay costs hours. Each hour costs fuel. In Berlin, optimism remains unshaken. Hitler dismisses concerns with a wave of the hand. The Soviet Union, he insists, is a rotten structure. Kick in the door and it will fall. But out here at the front, German officers start to notice something unsettling. The war is not ending. It is expanding. And the road to Moscow is growing longer by the day. The illusion breaks. August 1941. Near Yelnya, west of Moscow. Late afternoon. The heat hangs heavy, pressing down on men and machines alike. Sweat runs into eyes, mixes with dust, turns uniforms stiff and gray. The panzer columns have slowed, not stopped, but no longer racing. They grind forward now, 1 kilometer at a time. Engines cough. Gearboxes scream. Mechanics work with bare hands blackened by oil, scavenging parts from disabled vehicles, lining the roads like corpses. Fuel trucks arrive late, if they arrive at all. Ammunition is rationed. Orders are delayed, contradicted, rewritten. The Red Army is still here. Soviet counterattacks crash in at dawn and dusk, ragged, desperate, relentless. Infantry emerge from forests and marshes shouting, firing wildly, sometimes charging tanks with grenades clutched to their chests. They die in heaps, but they buy time. Always time. And time is becoming Germany's enemy. Guderian argues for speed, for one last drive toward Moscow before autumn closes in. His officers nod. They can feel it, the campaign balancing on a knife edge. But the orders from above pull his armor south, toward Kiev, toward another encirclement, another victory that looks decisive on paper. On the ground, soldiers begin to sense the change. Nights grow colder. Morning frost clings to tarps and helmets. The land turns to mud after sudden rains, thick and sucking, swallowing trucks axle deep. This is Rasputitsa, though few Germans know the word yet. They only know that nothing moves the way it should. Soviet resistance hardens under a new name whispered along the front. Zhukov. Defensive lines thicken. Reserves appear where none were expected. Fresh divisions arrive from the east. Siberians, some say, faces weathered, uniforms heavier, rifles clean. They do not panic. They dig in. German soldiers write home less often now. When they do, the tone shifts. Victory is no longer assumed. It is hoped for. Hitler remains convinced. Moscow, he believes, will fall with one final blow. The Soviets are bleeding to death. Germany only needs to strike harder, but the battlefield tells a different story. Each kilometer forward costs more than the last. Each Soviet retreat draws the Germans deeper into a land that offers no shelter, no warmth, no mercy. Supply lines stretch thin as wire. Horses collapse. Men shiver at night, wrapping themselves in anything they can find. And somewhere in the distance, carried on the wind, winter is already moving. It is quiet now, but not peaceful. It is the pause before something far worse. Winter takes command. October 2nd, 1941. Operation Typhoon begins. Dawn outside Vyazma. The ground is frozen just enough to hold the weight of armor. For a moment, it feels like fortune has returned. Panzer engines roar to life in the cold air. Exhaust plumes hanging low as columns surge forward once more. This is it, the final drive on Moscow. One last gamble before the season turns. The Red Army bends, again. German forces carve vast encirclements at Vyazma and Bryansk. Hundreds of thousands of Soviet soldiers are trapped. On maps, it looks decisive. On paper, it is victory. But the cold does not wait. Rain comes first, relentless and unforgiving. Roads dissolve into rivers of mud. Tanks bog down. Wheels spin uselessly. Supply convoys stall for days. Men strain, curse, shove, often no effect. Weapons foul. Boots rot. The smell of wet wool and unwashed bodies clings to everything. Then the temperature drops. Overnight, rain becomes ice. Engines refuse to start. Oil thickens like tar. Metal cracks with sharp, sudden reports in the dark. Frostbite takes fingers, toes, noses, sometimes silently, sometimes with screams. German uniforms, designed for a short summer campaign, offer little protection. Greatcoats are scarce. Winter boots rarer still. Soviet soldiers endure. They have trained for this. White camouflage appears in the tree-line. Skis glide where trucks cannot move. At night, Red Army patrols slip through German lines, cutting wires, killing sentries, vanishing into snow. Artillery shells land with muffled thuds, snow erupting in ghostly clouds. Zhukov's counteroffensive builds quietly. Fresh divisions arrive under cover of darkness, their breaths steaming, their weapons functioning. They are not racing forward. They are waiting for the cold to finish what bullets could not. German morale fractures. Officers plead for pauses, for winter quarters, for time. Hitler refuses. Retreat is forbidden. Every meter of ground is to be held, regardless of cost. Units freeze in place, literally and figuratively. By late November, Moscow's outskirts are visible through field glasses. Church spires glint faintly in the distance. Some soldiers believe they can still reach them. Others know better. The temperature plunges to -30. Men huddle in foxholes, burning maps, furniture, even rifle stocks to stay alive. The war of movement is gone. This is a war against nature now. And nature is not impressed by medals or ideology. As December approaches, the Germans are no longer advancing. They are barely surviving. The Red Army strikes back. December 5th, 1941. Pre-dawn, west of Moscow. The silence breaks first, not with artillery, but with movement. Shadows glide across snowfields. Boots crunch softly, deliberately. Breath clouds the air in steady rhythm. Soviet infantry advance without shouting, without haste, rifles cradled, bayonets fixed. Behind them, artillery crews finish laying guns, fingers numb but steady. Then the horizon erupts. A rolling barrage slams into German positions, shells tearing through frozen earth and splintered timber. Foxholes collapse. Men scramble, half awake, half frozen, hands shaking as they try to load rifles that barely function. Orders are shouted, lost, repeated, lost again. The Red Army attacks everywhere. Zhukov has waited for this moment. Fresh Siberian divisions surge forward, supported by T-34 tanks that start in the cold where German machines fail. Their wide tracks float over snow. Their engines keep running. They move like predators. German lines buckle. Units that were stretched thin snap apart under the pressure. Communications collapse. Officers attempt to form defensive perimeters, but men are exhausted, frostbitten, hollow-eyed. Some have not slept properly in days. Others have not eaten. Hitler's orders echo from far away. Stand fast. No retreat. But the battlefield does not care about orders issued in warm rooms. When Soviet tanks break through, survival becomes instinct. Some units fall back without authorization. Others fight until they are overrun. The cold is merciless. Wounded men freeze where they fall. Weapons jam at the worst moments. Artillery pieces are abandoned because there are no horses left to move them. The once proud panzer divisions are reduced to pockets of resistance, clinging to villages and tree lanes. German soldiers realize something unthinkable. They are losing, not tactically, not temporarily, but fundamentally. The Red Army they were told would collapse is advancing with discipline and confidence. Soviet soldiers shout now, not in panic but in triumph. The momentum has reversed. By mid-December, German forces are pushed back dozens of kilometers. Moscow is no longer a target. It is a threat, a city that has survived, defied, endured. The myth of German invincibility cracks, then shatters. Officers write desperate reports. Casualty lists grow unreadable. Entire regiments vanish into the snow. The winter claims more victims than Soviet bullets ever could. And yet, Berlin still demands obedience. The front stabilizes only because both sides are exhausted. The Red Army stops not from weakness, but from limits of supply. The Germans stop because they cannot go on. For the first time in the war, Germany has failed to achieve its objective. The question now is no longer whether the Soviets will survive, but whether Germany will. The point of no return. January 1942. Dawn. A frozen tree near Rzhev. Snow drifts over abandoned equipment. Helmets half buried. Rifles locked in ice. A Panzer IV tilted where its engine seized for the last time. Smoke rises weakly from a field kitchen that has nothing left to cook. Men stand in silence, stamping their feet, waiting for orders that no longer promise victory, only endurance. This is what remains of the summer's confidence. The German army has survived the winter, but only just. Frostbite cases outnumber battle wounds. Entire divisions exist on paper alone. Horses are gone, eaten or collapsed along the roads. Supply trains arrive with empty wagons, derailed tracks, or not at all. The war of lightning has become a war of attrition, and Germany was never prepared for this. Across the lines, the Red Army rebuilds. Factories beyond the Urals work day and night. Machines shipped east months earlier now roaring back to life. New tanks roll west. New soldiers march forward. Losses are replaced, not easily, not painlessly, but relentlessly. The Soviet state bends, but it does not break. Hitler's faith in willpower hardens into obsession. He replaces generals, centralizes command, forbids withdrawals. Tactical reality gives way to ideological certainty. The army pays the price. Every frozen position becomes a trap. Every refusal to retreat costs thousands of lives. The soldiers know it now. They no longer talk about victory. They talk about surviving the week, the month, the night. Letters home speak of endless snow, endless cold, endless fighting. Some never write again. Operation Barbarossa was meant to destroy the Soviet Union in a single season. Instead, it has created a war Germany cannot win. The Red Army has learned how to fight the Wehrmacht and how to bleed it. From this point forward, every German offensive will face an enemy stronger, smarter, and more prepared than before. Winter did not merely stop the Germans. It exposed them. It stripped away the illusion of invincibility and revealed a truth that could no longer be denied. The Eastern Front would decide the fate of the Third Reich, and the decision had already been made in the snow outside Moscow. The war will rage on for years yet. Cities will burn. Millions more will die. But the moment Germany lost the war, happened here, in the cold,